Thank you, Honorable President. We are now moving to question 5, which is asked by Honorable van den Berg from FF+. Over to you, President.
Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, a fundamental principle on which our democracy is founded is that South Africa, as I said earlier, belongs to all who live in it and united in our diversity. We are one of the most diverse countries in the world, which has brought together all of us who live in this country over many years. And we have found a good way of living side by side in our diversity and forging a common future as the people of this country. And in making this assertion, we recognize the injustices of our painful past that unfairly treated and discriminated against the majority of South Africans on the basis of the color of their skin. The Constitution provides for the enactment of legislation and other measures to promote the right of everyone to dignity, the achievement of equality, and the advancement of human rights and freedoms. The Constitution is clear that everyone is equal before the law and has the right to equal protection and benefit of the law. To give effect to the equality clause in our Constitution, in the Employment Equity Act was enacted. The Employment Equity Act provides for the fair treatment of South Africans and prohibits any unfair treatment or discrimination directly or indirectly against any person based on race, based on gender, disability, or on any of the prohibited grounds listed in the Constitution. This also applies to job applicants. Section 5 of the Employment Equity Act prescribes that all employers must take steps to promote equal opportunity in the workplace by eliminating unfair discrimination in any employment policy or practice. Therefore, any employment legislation, policy, or practice that unfairly discriminates against anyone based on their race, their gender, or any other prohibited ground is illegal. The Employment Equity Act is one of the several measures we have put in place to correct the grave historical injustice of economic exclusion. The historical discrimination against Black people and women in the workplace has produced an economy that does not provide equal opportunities for all. Not only is this unjust, it is also limiting the potential of our people in our economy. I often say that we had constructed, or the past rulers of this country had constructed an economy that did not work on all its potential cylinders. Although we have made progress since the advent of democracy, we still have some way to go. Although we've taken a number of actions, there's still a lot that needs to be done. According to the annual report of the Commission for Employment Equity for 2022 to 2023, white people account for 63% of top management positions in our country. Yet they comprise only 8% of the economically active population. By contrast, Africans account only for 17% of the top management positions, even though they account for 80% of the economically active population. The situation is better at the professionally qualified level, Africans account for nearly half of all professionally qualified positions. White people account for a third, and Indians and colors account for around 10% each. These figures clearly show that while there are areas of progress, we have yet to reach a situation where all people have equal opportunities in the workplace regardless of race or gender. All people in our country, including from so-called minority groups, should be able to have equal access, as I was saying earlier, to employment opportunities and to equally contribute to the economic growth of our country without feeling excluded, without feeling marginalized, but feeling that they are part of the whole of South Africa. And it is for this reason that we say once again that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, united in our diversity. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable President. Honorable van den Berg, you may ask the follow-up question.
Thank you, Chair. Eerbare President. South Africa is yearning for the blessing of a demographic dividend, brought about with higher employment and leading to less poverty. However, populations go through more than one demographic dividend as they develop. In stage 1, per capita income will rise as we move away from poverty and high birth rates. Stage 2 can be described as the middle income groups, able to save a little. At stage 3, a person or group will have money to reinvest into society, transforming into more employment and tax revenue. However, as a diversified nation, population groupings are not all functioning at the same stages, and I'm not referring to race. The Multidimensional Poverty Index, MPI, identifies deprived groups and districts. This argument then forms the pivot point for government spending and policy, and is used to justify discriminative BEE and affirmative action legislation based on race towards a minority group. But it only serves to cripple the functioning of a state body that can now not run towards economic growth as one leg is impaired and can therefore not help build and play their part. Honorable President, eradicators of poverty are lower birth rates, employment opportunities, and an employable workforce. Surely now, should we not look at repealing discriminative BEE and affirmative action as we look at the GNU statement of intent, namely, working toward establishing a non-racial, united society and improving the lives of all who live in it? If we as a nation desire to go forward, can we not also address this issue?
Honorable Member, I'm afraid your time is up. You haven't even asked a question yet. So, Honorable President, if I may afford you an opportunity to respond to the statement that has been made by the Honorable Member. You may not, you may, if you wish, you so wish, President.
I do wish to respond. Honorable Member, Honorable Chairperson, thank you very much. I think the clearly unstated question was, should we not look at repealing, say, black economic empowerment as well as employment equity? And I have to say the answer is no. And in fact, it will not be to the advantage of this country to repeal these laws that are transformative. Now, I'll tell you why I say they're transformative. You yourself have said that we could impair the whole body by just, in a way, I'm paraphrasing, walking on one leg and pair one leg. And that's precisely what I said, that the way our economy was constructed, it was constructed to favor one national group in our country. And that is why I say it was not working on all cylinders. And in some ways, that is why our economy has not been able to unleash its full power, because it is like saying people must enter a race and you tie the leg of some of the participants and say run. And that's precisely what has happened in our country. Now, through these measures, through these laws, we are seeking to ensure that there is equality, that there is equal involvement, equal participation, which if you do not have the encouragement through rules and laws, may in some instances never be done. Now, one of the things that I found really refreshing amongst a number of South Africans, including white South Africans, is that some of these laws have now enabled them to sit back and say, wow, this entity that we are involved in does not speak to good representation. We need representation, demographic representation. We need women to also be brought up. We also need black people to be brought up to key positions. And in many ways, that is happening as I encounter a lot of South Africans. And this is not happening just on its own. It's happening because it's being encouraged by the laws, the rules, and the regulations that we've put in place. They are raising the level of consciousness and awareness. And recently I had a wonderful experience, just so that you know, in the cattle industry, where for a society, a cattle society, which has forever been run just by white males, and they paused as they were now choosing their next leadership. They paused and said, wow, we've always just had white males running this society. We now need, in view of the level of consciousness, the new laws, the regulations that are abroad in our country, we now need to include other genders, other people. And that has led to women also acceding to those positions of leadership. That has led to black people being brought into those positions. That would never have happened, Honorable Member, on its own. It required laws, it required regulations, it required the raising of consciousness. Now, I would like to believe that there is not much resistance among South Africans. And in fact, we should see this as unleashing the power of inclusivity, of doing things together. Now, I also see it in the Government of National Unity. The Government of National Unity has given rise to that. When I look at my cabinet, I see how in the past we used to have a cabinet 30 years ago, which was all male and all white. Today you see a cabinet that is mixed, where every South African national group is represented. And that is the beauty of our situation. And I think we should embrace that rather than fear, and fear ghosts, the unknown. That is what we should move away from. Let's embrace the diversity, the rich diversity that this country has given rise to. We are one nation, and let's make this nation work. Thank you very much.